This is for personal use. This isn't really meant as a replacement to enterprise level emails. If you have an email campaign that's going to go out to 100, 200, 300 people, you're going to want to work with our enterprise solutions on that, reaching out to IT solutions, and we will work with you on crafting or on distributing an email using the right tools for the job. So once again, this is flows for personal productivity. So maybe emailing a class. So maybe you have a class of 50 people or something like that. That'd be a good example. Or you have a department of 30 people and you want to individualize your email rather than just sending to a group. It's not meant to be a replacement for bulk email sending, because it will result in your account being locked down for some period of time. And it's not always, this is not meant to be a replacement for bulk email sending. Of course, just as we can think of all the practical ways to use this in our business environment, there's a lot of spammers out there who know ways to empower these tools to spam people. And so there are safeguards in place to prevent that from happening. And so we just want to caution you not to trip those safeguards and wind up locked out like spammers do. So I'm just going to start by launching my current browser of choice, Microsoft Edge. And once I'm in Microsoft Edge, I'm going to go to a spot that you're all probably familiar with, MavMail. And specifically right now, I'm using Outlook on the web to view my MavMail. And also just a note for this presentation, I'm going to be using a demo user account. So everything that I do here will be not looking at my personal email or my personal flows, it's looking at a demo account. So from here, the first thing I'm going to do to get to Power Automate is go to the app launcher in the upper left-hand corner. When I select that, you'll see lots of different apps that are available in Office 365. So a great thing about the tools that I'm going to show you, they're all provided by Microsoft, and it's just a nice suite of tools that let you do lots of things. So when we talk about Outlook, for example, that's your mail, your calendar, and your contacts. When we talk about OneDrive, that's your cloud file storage, your personal cloud file storage. When we talk about Teams, that's a place for collaboration and teamwork, collaborating on files or messaging or meetings. So there's just lots of different tools in 365 available. And so I'm going to start by selecting Power Automate. And once I get into Power Automate, you'll see I land on the home screen, and there's lots of different things you can do within Power Automate. And I'm not going to try to cover them all. There's just way too many things that you can do. So I'm going to start by going over to My Flows. And from here, I'm going to select New Flow. Okay, so I guess before I click on that, I just want to show you right now I don't have any flows. If I had flows, they'd be listed here. And this is where I'd come in to either interact with them or manage them. But since I don't have any, I'm going to go to New Flow. Once I select New Flow, I want you to turn your attention to 3 spots here: Automated Cloud Flow, Instant Cloud Flow, and Scheduled Cloud Flow. Okay, each of these are triggers for flows. So when we talk about flows, what they are is a series of actions or steps that you are determined ahead of time that are triggered by an event. And so our triggering events are either automated cloud flow, which is something that happens when another action happens, an instant cloud flow, which is where you select a button and tell it to start, excuse me, or a scheduled cloud flow, which happens at a specific time that you've pre-programmed. Okay, so for this demonstration, I'm going to start with an automated cloud flow, or excuse me, an instant cloud flow. And when I select that, it gives me an option to enter my flow name and my flow trigger, but I'm going to skip that for this demonstration. I'm going to get right into the main canvas area of creating a flow, just so I can show the different options. So there are lots of different ways to trigger a flow. From here, I'm just going to show you the manually trigger flow. And right away when I select that, you see that the action item here is manually trigger a flow. And if I wanted to add an input, I could do that. That can add some complexity. I'm not going to demonstrate that right now. All I want this to do is when I press the button, that the series of steps happen. So I'm going to start with without any inputs. So when I press that button, what I want to happen is called my first step. So the first step when I push this button that I want to happen is the flow that I'm creating for this demonstration. I'm actually going to start with a mail merge where I'm getting information from an Excel spreadsheet and creating an email out of it. So the first operation that I need to happen when I press this button is to get the rows present in a table. And before I do that, I just want to quick show you. I'm going to open another tab here. I bookmarked my Excel file. I'd previously created an Excel file. And in this Excel file, I have a column for first name, email, and group. So this is just an existing data set that I have. And I want to be able to mail merge an email to these individuals. And right now I just have 3, but I could, build a list, 10, 12, 20. So that's the prep work I did in preparation for creating this flow, is just having a table of data. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my flow here, and I'm going to choose Excel Online Business. So when I push this button, what's going to happen is I'm going to do something with this Excel table that I have. So once I select Excel Online Business, it shows me all the functions available when I trigger this flow. So there's a long list here of things that I can do. Specifically for this demonstration, what I want to do is list rows present in a table. So essentially, it's going to pull in all the rows from this table into the flow that I'm working on. And so to set this up, I need to tell a location. I'm using OneDrive for Business to store that Excel file. A document library, again, since it's OneDrive for Business, my only option really is OneDrive. And then a file. I'm going to choose Team Groups. As you can see here, that's the name of my Excel file. And then from there, I'm going to choose a table. I only have one table in this Excel document. And if I click on it, you can see that my table name is Table 1. So this lists the only table present. I'm going to select Table 1. And then just to make sure I don't lose my spot, I'm going to click Save. So right now I could run this flow, and all it would do is go out and grab those rows from that table of that Excel document. But what we're focusing on in this presentation is what things you can do with Outlook. So what am I going to do with that? I'm going to take that information, I'm going to plug it into an email and send an email with this flow. So the next step I need to do is get my email or craft an email. So I'm going to go into the operations here, and I need to find our email service, which ours is called Office 365 Outlook. Now I point that out because there's another service in here called Outlook.com, which has a very similar name, but that's actually kind of the personal service that Microsoft Office is. It's kind of like Gmail, it's for your personal use, Outlook.com is. Whereas for here at the university, our MAV mail is powered by Office 365 Outlook. So I'm going to select that. Once I select that, you can see all the different actions that I can take in Power Automate within Office 365 Outlook. So what I'm trying to do is send an email. So you see the 4th option down here is send an email. So I'll select that. Okay. And who do I want the emails to go to? I could just manually type in a name here, and it will use our people picker to find all the people in our university with that name. But what I want to do is use the information from the table that I have. So I'm going to choose Add Dynamic Content. And once I select that, you can see the dynamic content available to me right now. From the step called List Rows Present in a Table, there's a field called Email. So I'll select that. Once I selected that, you'll see it actually added another step. It just automatically knew that, well, there's more than one row with the value email. So I'm going to do this for every time I see the value email. I'm going to apply to each one of those emails the send an email action. And for this demonstration, I'm talking about which group the people in this list are in. So I'm going to say your group for our project. I gave my subject your group for our project. Now I'm going to write a body. I'm going to start by saying hello, and I have a field for the first name of the individuals so that I can select first name. So I can say hello first name, comma, your group for our upcoming project is, and I've already selected which group they're in. I have that as a field within our table. So say your group for our upcoming project is group. And I'll just say thanks. And I'll sign it. And I'll click save on that. You can see that's saving, so I don't want to navigate away until I've had a chance to, until I'm certain that it's saved, but there we go. Once it saves, it tells me my flow is ready to go, and we recommend you test it. And so within flow, there are lots of opportunities for little mistakes that can cause errors, and that's completely expected. This is kind of intermediate level work here where there's a learning curve to it. And so you're going to have times that you have a step in there that doesn't quite make sense. And all that will happen is that it will go through every step that it can. Once it gets to a point that it can't, that it breaks, it will just stop and it will tell you what the error is. So right now it looks like everything's going to work good. It does once I click save, it does a little check and it wants me to test it. Well, I can't really test this flow. Once I test it, it's going to go. So I'm not going to actually test this one. I'm going to, first I want to give it a name. So I'm going to say email groups, and then I'll click save. So that way it has a name that makes sense to me. And so now that I've built my flow, I'm going to go back, look at the main area of my flow here, and there's lots of different information like details about who owns it, what the flow is, the 28-day run history, what connections I have. So there's lots of information here, but I'm going to draw your attention to the run button. So if I think my flow is ready to go, I can come up here and select run. And what it will do is double check that I've approved use of these services using my account. So using the account that I'm logged in as, Flow is asking, can I access your Excel online? And can I access your email? And I'm okay with that, of course. I set that up. So of course I'm okay with that. I'll click continue. And then next I'll select run flow. And now it's telling me my flow run successfully started. To monitor it, I can go to the flows run page. I won't do that. I'm just going to click done. I can see right here in my 28-day run history that on February 2nd at 1:14 p.m., my flow started and is currently running. And if I hit this refresh button, I'm sure by now it finished. That flow only took 4 seconds to run, and I ran it 22 seconds ago. So you see how quickly, once you start a flow, it goes. So if I want to click into that and see exactly what happened, I can see the steps that one, manually trigger a flow works. That's when I selected start. I listed my rows present in the table, and I can look at what output is there. And then I can see what steps all occurred. So I sent an email to Brian Johnson and your group for our project, and here's what I all sent to it. So I sent this information to various people, but I'm going to go to my, remember I'm using an IT demo user account. I'm going to go to Outlook for that and just go to my sent items. And you'll see at 1:14 p.m., I sent this one to Lexi. Hello, Lexi. Your group for our upcoming project is Group B. So if I look back at my table, I have Lexi's first name as Lexi. I have that as her email address. And I have her group as Group B. So you can see my flow is a success. It worked exactly as I planned. Hello, Lexi. Your group for our upcoming project is Group B. Thanks. I'm Brian Johnson. And that's it. That's just a really easy way to combine different solutions within Office 365 to perform an action. So maybe in the past, if you had a small group like that, you would manually copy and paste each person's name and email and manually send it out. This just lets you combine different actions into a series of steps that you can then reuse. Next, I want to show an automated cloud flow. So that was an example of a flow where I trigger what happens. I tell it when to run. So I'm going to go back to my flows. Now you'll see my list of flows. I have my email groups flow there. I'm going to select new flow. And this time I'm going to have an automated cloud flow. Okay. Once again, I could start building it here. I'd prefer just to get right into the creation area of my flow here. And so I'll go over there and then I'm going to choose I'm looking for, there it is. Okay. Office 365 Outlook. So what I'm doing here, the flow I'm building this time is when an email arrives, I want a series of steps to take place. So I'll select Office 365. And then here's the available triggers of when things happen in Office 365. You can see all the different options here. But the one I want to give a demo of is when a new email arrives. So when a new email arrives to my inbox, I can have a flow start. I want to give it a little bit more criteria than that. I get lots of emails, so I don't want this to happen every time. But I do want this to happen anytime I get an email from Lexi. So I'm going to type in Lexi's last name here. Go with your first name. There we go. And I can see Lexi's title here. So I know that I'm finding the right person. If you have a common name like me, you might accidentally email the other Brian Johnson on campus, or maybe one of many. Okay, so there I found Lexi. Then I'm going to have a new step. When Lexi emails me, I want a notification in Teams. So I'm going to select Microsoft Teams as my next step. So let me just step through that one more time. I went a little fast there. When a new email arrives, the first action I'm going to take, I want a Teams action to happen. So I'm just going to search for the word Teams here to find Teams as the tool that I'm working with. And then once an email arrives, I can do lots of actions here within Teams. I think for this first demo, I'm actually going to have it post a message to me in a chat or channel. So an example that I thought of that I used to have, a job where I moved around more, but I always wanted to know when a certain person reached out to me. I just wanted to get a notification right away. But I didn't want to have my email notifications on because they were sounding constantly. So instead, I want it to actually send me a Teams message because I have those come through to my phone and they usually indicate kind of more urgency. So I'm going to have when an email arrives from Lexi because she's a VIP, I want to get notified via Teams right away. So I'm going to have this use post as Flowbot, which is just basically an automated way to post flows. And I'm going to have it post to a chat with Flowbot. Once I select that, it will tell me what recipient should receive this message. And I want that to come to my demo user account. So I'm just going to search for the recipient, MNSU-IT demo user. And I want the message to say, you received an email from Lexi. And then I'll click save. So this one, again, is just real simple, but it's just kind of introducing the idea and that when a new email arrives, you can have different steps take place. So this is a real simple one, just email arrives, send a message. I could have it do a lot more stuff, but I just wanted to show what this one looks like first. And I'm going to give this a name. Notification in Teams when Lexi emails. And I'll click save. And I'm going to back out of my flow and make sure it's turned on. So I can see right now I have an option to turn off, which means that it's currently in the state of on. So this flow is ready to go. And so Lexi, if you could send IT demo user an email.
Yep, let me go ahead and send that.
Okay.
Okay, sending, it might take a couple seconds.
Okay. All right, so I just received, you see here in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, I received a chat message. It says you received an email from Lexi, which is exactly what I told it to do. So right now I don't see that I have any flows to run. If I hit this little refresh button, you'll see that 20 seconds ago, this flow took 1 second to run, and it notified me that I have an email from Lexi. So let me pop open my Teams message here. You can see what a Flowbot message looks like. It just says it's from Power Automate. And at 1:22, it let me know you received an email from Lexi. And since I have those notifications turned on my phone, I was then able to pop open my email and see what that message was. All right, I'm going to add one more step there. Not only do I want to get notified when Lexi emails me, I also want to move her email into a folder. Oh, move email. I was just using the wrong word. Okay, so I'm going to have it notify me in Teams, and I'm going to have it move my message. So I need the message ID. I need to go to when the new email arrives action to get the message ID. So for that same message, I want that message moved to, and I can choose which folder here by selecting the folder button. I want it to move to, oh, and I don't have a good folder set up. So sorry, Lexi, just for this example, I'm going to move you to junk. You know what? I don't really want to do that. I'll quick demonstrate how to create a folder because it will only take me a couple seconds. But I'm going to go to my Outlook here, go to my folders. I'll create a new folder, not called junk, called VIP. That's more appropriate for Lexi. All right, here we go. I'm going to go back here now and refresh here just a second. Hop back into edit mode here. Go to move emails, and instead of junk, I'm going to select my folders option again, and hopefully now there'll be a VIP folder. There we go, much more appropriate. And I'll click save on that. Now, we talked about testing before. Running this flow and testing it are almost the exact same thing. In this case, though, I now have a past example of when a new email arrives from Lexi. So now when I go to test, I will have the option to choose automatically, and then I can use with a recently used trigger. So if you had a flow fail, for example, you could come in here and edit your flow and then try to rerun it on that same data set. So I'm going to come in here and use that same email that Lexi had sent me. I'm going to press test. There we go. I got my Power Automate message as expected. So this action worked correctly. It gave me a check mark there, and it says it moved the email. So let me hop over to my email account. You can see my inbox is now empty, but if I go to my VIP folder, there I have my project update from Lexi.